in the dark. Please remember, I am not a financial advisor.
To digital currencies and to digital payments, which we have many of, but digital currency we don't. Because when I was IMF, actually, because soon enough I realized that it could be a lot more inclusive, and in particular for women, notably in emerging income countries, that it could be a lot cheaper, that it could be a lot more efficient and a lot faster. And when you start looking at, many of those remittances that flow from country to country, it begs for that kind of instrument. And once I came to realize that clearly at the IMF first, and certainly now wonderfully at the ECB, we are digging more into it.
When Lagarde was at the IMF, she saw the value proposition in crypto assets and digital currencies. This is when Ripple joined the Bali Fintech agenda, where Ripple worked with the IMF on setting standards. This is also when Ross Lecklow and Brad Garlinghouse were on stage at the Singapore Fintech Festival, talking about crypto and Ripple. Creating an inclusive system with emerging economies is vital to the global economy. Ripplenet offers a solution that can level the playing field.
Report on CBDC and international payments, and there the idea is precisely what is the design features that CBDCs should have, so that you can make 24/7 instant payments between countries with very low commissions. I mean, today a payment from, let's say, Mexico to the US can take days, and sometimes the commissions you pay is 7%. That's ridiculous. So what I think we need to do is to take advantage of the fact that pretty much everybody is starting from a clean slate, so that we can incorporate from the origin the interconnectedness between the different systems.
To send a remittance from one country to another can cost up to 7%. According to Augustin Carstens, this is ridiculous. The central bankers want to redesign the banking system where everybody starts from a clean slate. Ripple has expertise in this area and offers a suite of technologies that are ideal for banks to use. Medium and small banks simply do not have the funding to start from scratch. They can adopt an open source technology without paying for a custom solution. XRP has been around since 2011. It's time tested. Its value has been out in the open for 10 years with incentive for people to find exploits, yet it's still around and secure.
Just 9 months ago, we issued our new strategy at Swift, which is about building on that and taking correspondent banking, international payments to the next level to achieve truly end-to-end, account-to-account, instant and frictionless transactions across the world, making essentially international payments as seamless as domestic ones. So we're talking, just to round it up, a figure of 4 billion accounts globally interconnected. And that through, in our case, a next generation digital platform that will use APIs and cloud technology. It will be based on ISO 222, as I mentioned. Very important move that, as I said, the ECB is one of the leading central banks in terms of adopting it at their RTGS level with Target 2 in November 2022. And that because that will provide a common language for payments that can be adopted across the world for domestic and international systems. And that's totally, it's super important because it's not only for wholesale, but also retail payments, and as importantly, currency agnostic. And I will come back to that because when we talk about CBDCs, it is crucial that whatever platform is created can carry all sorts of assets, whether it is fiat or digital currencies.
Swift is updating the payment standards to ISO 222. This means all payments will be interoperable. In the future, one payment can seamlessly leave one network to the Swift network. Swift is built on top of correspondent banking. As we heard in my last video that Anya Manuel states 75% of global banks are backing out of the correspondent banking relationships due to cost and friction. This trend will continue and these relationships will continue to dry. This is out of Swift's control, yet they rely on it. Ripplenet is a solution that bypasses the correspondent banking network. network. This is happening from the ground up. The exotic corridors will be able to transact in a more efficient manner. Eventually, the G7 nations will follow.
Implement it and work through, but unless everyone is going to hold every currency, someone will have to do the FX and the bridge between jurisdictions. Currently, that is the role that correspondent banks occupy, and how that evolves in CBDCs remains to be seen. But it's clear that it is needed that regardless of the technology, standard, and protocol used, there can be global interoperability. That's, again, the point of the Danuta.
Quote, unless everyone is going to hold every other currency, someone will have to do the FX and the bridge between jurisdictions. Currently, that's the role of correspondent banking. As I said earlier, 75% of global banks are pulling out of the correspondent banking relationships. It remains to be seen how this evolves. However, I believe Ripple will play a role.
This seemed transformational at the time, only a few short moments ago. But today, we are witnessing the proliferation of even more ambitious initiatives. So is, for example, the EU proposed digital law that aims to provide a safe way for citizens to access and link public and private services online. If new services are to be adopted at the speed necessary for long-term sustained economic recovery, citizens must be able to trust that the technologies are secure and that their assets and personal information and data are protected.
Crypto networks are trustless networks. With distributed systems and blockchain technology, it is impossible to hack. Klaus has foreshadowed cyber attacks years ago, and now they're common. Blockchain will be a standard, and the banking system will have to update by law. SWIFT has had billions stolen due to hacks. They have always had a monopoly, but now with crypto and digital currencies, there are choices that are more secure and traceable.
And how we could also potentially facilitate interoperability between CBDC networks and other value, so currency, securities, networks that are on different technologies.
And I do think that there will be this nexus between the traditional asset management and financial services industry and this new marketplace. So we're all going to meet again in the end, but there are different paths to get there.
SWIFT is trying to update their system from legacy technology, while Ripple started from a clean slate. The solutions Ripple is offering is the same solution that SWIFT is trying to build. The new ODL wallets will have a seamless experience for banks to purchase tokenized stocks, real estate, currencies. They're bridging the old world to the new world, starting from a blank canvas. SWIFT is constrained due to their size and restrictions. This gives Ripple the opportunity to build a working product, while SWIFT is constrained by red tape. I believe Ripple will reach the finish line first and have the opportunity to gain a network, while SWIFT is stuck trying to configure new tech to old tech.
Now, just like banks, it's important for banking institutions to be aware of the trends that are going on. The trends in technology, the ones that are so important, they're going to grow. And those are easy to spot.
300 plus members on Ripplenet, because these banks are aware of the trend and are allowing the technology experts to develop the technology.
I think we're seeing, right now, we're starting to see more. I think there's been a lot of selling, obviously, in the market, which has driven the price down. But what we're seeing more than anything right now is institutions who are doing the work, who may have been investing around the periphery. It could be having invested in some public companies. There aren't many out there, obviously Coinbase, Galaxy, to name really the two. But people who are doing the work right now on understanding what sort of opportunities exist with the underlying assets, and very importantly, gravitating towards the institutional infrastructure players who are coming to market, who are regulated, who are insured, who understand the traditional ways that Wall Street works from an operational standpoint, and getting comfortable with that. And so we're getting lots of questions around our infrastructure, around our regulatory status. We're regulated by the New York Department of Financial Services, and trying to understand from an institutional standpoint how service providers like us fit into their current mix and how they can weave us into an investment process that they have.
Crypto just recently hit a $1.6 trillion market cap. PolySign is giving the banks the opportunity to enter the market in a regulated fashion. The infrastructure is being built. The big banks are entering. We are still early.
The top question I get asked is this a buying opportunity?
Well, I've certainly been buying, and I do think it's a long-term buying opportunity. Obviously, that question begs an answer around what your investment philosophy is, what your time horizon is. But certainly the hodlers and people who have a longer-term view around this emerging asset class have to view this as a buying opportunity.
Jack McDonald, former managing director of UBS Investment Bank, one of the largest private banks and the largest bank in Switzerland. He's working with the institutions building the infrastructure. He's buying the dip because he's focused on the long term.
So first, I'm legitimately undecided on whether the benefits outweigh the costs or vice versa or on a CBDC. Yesterday, I was answering a direct question about a particular argument. I said in favor, that would be one of the stronger arguments. Okay. I would agree that the more direct route would be to appropriately regulate stablecoins, which we don't do right now, and that's going to be a very important thing that we do. So in terms of congressional authorization, there are different views on that. I've said publicly, and I think this is right, that we would want very broad support in society and in Congress, and ideally that would take the form of authorizing legislation as opposed to a very careful reading of ambiguous law to support this. It's a very, very important initiative, and I do think we should ideally get authorization. In terms of what the problem is to solve, I think that is exactly the right question, and I think our obligation is to explore both the technology and the policy issues over the next couple of years. That's what we're going to do so that we're in a position to make an informed recommendation. But my mind is open on this, and I honestly don't have a preconceived answer to these questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The Senator.
Crypto has always been a bottoms-up approach. We are seeing nations around the world developing digital currencies. This starts from the developing nations like the Bahamas and is working its way to the top. Recently, there was news about a digital euro. As the world transforms, the U.S. will follow, but they're on top and will be last. It's a good thing Ripple is a U.S. company. We taste and feel and see the truth. We do not reason ourselves into it. William Butler Beats. Thanks everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I try to read all comments. I can't reply to all, but I do read and do my best to reply. If you're interested, I have a Patreon where I add the videos early without ads while I'm putting the finishing touches on the YouTube version. I post research, have a Discord chat, and have a weekly Zoom call to discuss coins, markets, and assist with technical problems.